Movies Down Memory Lane. Welcome back to another installment of Movies Down Memory Lane, the show where three friends get together and talk about the movies that matter to them most. I'm Stephen Billings. My other two friends, Andrew Cabral and Dan Skip Allen. How you guys doing?
Great.
Doing good.
Up and down sports weekend, but that's another story.
Well, we're not doing a sports movie this weekend, guys. I know we've done I think 2 or 3 over the last few episodes or something like that, but we're past the sports for now. I think we're going to take a break from sports movies. They're easy to pick because they're so inspirational. You can't help it.
But they're also relatable too.
They can be, depending on what sport you're talking about. Because, when you do a movie about tennis, which I love tennis, but tennis is kind of a higher or golf. It's for the higher class people,
But there are some really good golf movies that,
of course,
God. We did do a sports show. We'd definitely be talking about 2 or 3 good golf movies.
Of course. But that is not what we're doing this week. This week, it is my turn to pick the film that we are discussing. And I chose, if you watched the end of last week's, when we talked Game 6, I announced that I wanted to talk about the 1971 classic, Willy Wonka in the Chocolate Factory. I got the deluxe one. These guys got the regular ones.
Ooh, it's still shiny on the back, though.
It is shiny. Mine, though, the inner part is a candy bar.
Oh, nice.
Oh, you bastard. Oh, that you did trump us on that.
Yeah. So, but yes, so Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, 1971, starring Gene Wilder, the great Gene Wilder. This is a movie that, you'll hear it a lot. And I think maybe the closest to this movie where I kind of talked about music was, of course, School of Rock. We did School of Rock, one of my picks before. And that was very important for me when it came to at the time it came out, I was in my teens. And I was getting close to that point where I was going to start playing in rock bands, blah, 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 stuff like that. But this was something I watched a lot earlier in life when I was very young. And I would say this is the movie that really kind of introduced me. It was my first musical. This was before Wizard of Oz. I didn't see Wizard of Oz yet. I saw this first. This was definitely the first one. And it got me into the musical side of movies. And of course, without knowing it was Gene Wilder, my introduction to Gene Wilder. And I think a lot of what, then came later was just that kind of coincided with my mindset was this sense of, protecting the things that are precious. Kind of, this movie has an anti-corporate kind of mindset to it that runs through the whole movie. Because, Willy Wonka's trying to get the right person, spoiler alert, to take over his factory, and he doesn't want the wrong kid to take it. And you get different examples through each kid of different types of people in the world. But we'll get deeper into that. As you know, I'm obsessed with this movie. Let's get to the two other guys, see how they feel about Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. Dan, start us off.
Yeah, I saw this at a young age. I think I was close to 6 years old. And it was kind of a dark movie for a 6-year-old. Willy Wonka wasn't necessarily the bright and shiny and happy kind of character that I would perceive him to be the older I got as a 6-year-old. That scene toward the end of the movie where he basically turns them away and says, "No, you stole fizzy lifting drink.
Don't get me started. I could do that scene for you.
You stole fizzy lifting. You
stole fizzy lifting drinks. You bumped into the ceilings, which now have to be washed, so you get nothing."
Yeah.
Good day, sir.
That was pretty dark. That was a pretty dark scene, but I understood it as I've gotten older, why he was finding out which one of these kids was the right kid for him. And he kind of was rooting for Charlie. And as a kid growing up, you need adults to say, I'm rooting for you. I'm here for you. I want to see you succeed. You're poor. You have nothing. You're eating spinach water. That's your dinner each night. You might have enough money to scratch up for a loaf of bread. That reminded me of myself a lot when I was a kid, because that's how my life was, and as I gotten old, I did have people that stuck up for me and helped me out and was a father figure for me and looked out for me and stuff. So it really is really relatable on a lot of levels for me. Plus, I do like candy, and who doesn't like candy? So a movie about candy and Wonka bars, all it made me want to do is go get a Wonka bar after watching it again, because I love a good candy bar, but I know they're not good for me.
Yeah, I don't even know how available literal Wonka bars are anymore. It's not really a thing.
Yeah, no.
What is interesting is I did do a little bit of research on them, and apparently they are discontinued, so you can't really find them. And I think they were put out by Nestle, I think in the late 2000s, like around 2010 or so. I think coincidentally, I think they brought them back out to promote the Tim Burton Charlie and the Chocolate Factory movie, to kind of, market tie in with that. And then I think Nestle put it out for a little while, up until like 2012. And then they just discontinued it because it wasn't selling well. Coincidentally, back in the day when this movie was made, Quaker Oats, this movie was actually partially funded by Quaker Oats, in turn to kind of launch them selling Wonka candy bars. So they kind of timed it originally back in the early 70s to have the Wonka candy bar to tie in with the movie, and that's how they kind of did it. But I think they were only a super limited time thing, and they couldn't quite get the real life formula right, and there were all kind of problems with that. So Quaker Oats kind of abandoned that thing. What's crazy is that every time you watch this movie, it makes the candy and the chocolate look so good. So you want to eat chocolate during and after the movie.
It is chocolate porn, yes.
It very much is. And I've always been a big fan of chocolate more so than candy. So it definitely plays into that for me. But similar to Steven and even Dan, I saw this when I was much, much younger. And I saw this probably originally on cable television, which I think is where I discovered a lot of movies back in the day. Is they would play this rather frequently on television back in the 90s and early 2000s or so, and that's where I discovered it for the first time. And it's a movie that I've seen so many times because it's such an easy movie to watch. It clocks in like an hour and 39 minutes with credits. But it's even with a short runtime, the pacing is immaculate. Like you're an hour into this movie and you don't even feel it at all. Like that's how paceful the movie is, especially once they get to Willy Wonka's chocolate factory. It feels like there's just a wild and amazement of things going on. This movie has, we've talked about before, Stephen, the sense of movie magic. This movie has some of that movie magic in it.
This is a movie I would make a 5-star movie, because it is, like, to me, like pure cinema. Like it's a pure cinema movie where it doesn't over-explain itself.
Yeah, it's so simple.
It's simple, but it's also it leaves a lot of room for imagination, which is a lot of the theme of the movie. Like he sings a song called "Pure Imagination." I mean,
when I mean its simplicity, like even the plot is rather simple.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like there's no like real deeply multi-layered structure where there's like you gotta like think about twists and turns and all this kind of stuff. Everything is on screen for you to see. I mean, this movie is kind of made for children, but I feel like it's very timeless and cross-generational. Like it's so unique in that regard.
It's definitely simple in the sense of story. I think when it comes to character, it's a lot more it's layered for adults.
Very universal.
Yeah.
I mean, Dan just mentioned that this idea of Charlie Bucket is, not even working class. You can consider him,
he's poor.
From the lower class, poor. Like his family, the only one who seems to work in his family, at least from the movie's perspective, is his mother, who does, I think she works at a laundry or something. We only see like one scene with that. His other family members don't really do anything. They're all kind of bedridden.
Kind of one of the funny things that people talk about today is they're like, they literally say he's been like stuck in bed for like 20 years.
And they bring him a few times. And I'm like, Grandpa Joe is old, but he's not like
Well, he's
100.
obviously not old enough to go to the fucking chocolate factory and do all the shit he does.
Yeah,
in
but
the
I'm
movie.
just like, these kids kept mentioning, oh, I haven't done this in 20 years. And I'm like, wow, like you must have been afflicted with something serious at a relatively young age from a modern perspective. Because Grandpa
Yeah.
Joe looks like he's in his 60s. Like
Yeah.
like I said, doesn't look like he's 100. I mean,
But also that he gets over it so quickly.
yeah, like magic. There's that movie Magic.
It's like what the fuck is going on here, Grandpa
Pe-
Joe? You win a
people have
golden
done
ticket to go to Wonka's chocolate factory, and you finally wake your ass up.
Yeah,
it's like,
people have done deep dives into like what was actually his affliction, like what was his illness and all that, Grandpa Joe's illness and stuff. I've seen TikToks about that, investigating that and all that stuff. But you don't. It's a kind of one of those funny things I think are just discussed amongst movie fans and stuff like that. It really doesn't quite matter in the grand scheme of it all.
The thing is the movie, for me, if you really pay attention and think about a lot of the things that happen, the movie's not set. I don't think you can really take it as like it's like the real world, because it's like so many absurd things happen. I mean, obviously the fact that once you get into the factory, so many absurd things happen that it can't really
60s.
be. But it's like,
I would say it's the 60s, right? It seemed like the 60s.
But it's an alternate world. Like it's not our real world.
But what I'm saying is
I think it's
like
a foreign country, but whatever.
They're in the UK. I believe it's not. It's but it's like what I'm saying is it's like it's not like real. They try to play themselves off as real. There's absurdness to it, like it's a satirical thing almost. Like, but he's like cooking with like he throws shoes in and throws a coat and things that he's cooking. He's like doing things that are not real. It's almost like a cartoon.
It reminded me a lot of like a Dr. Seuss world.
Yeah,
that's what it reminded me. And it's based on the Roald Dahl book, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, which has some, children fantasy books, essentially.
Yeah.
That's kind of what Roald Dahl did. He did Fantastic Mr. Fox and, the Witches and
Peach,
the BFG.
Which Giant Peach, right?
Yeah, that was all Roald Dahl stuff. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like a children's fantasy world. So like you mentioned earlier with the Wizard of Oz is kind of like that as well.
Yeah, they have a suspensions of disbelief a little bit.
Right.
Yeah. You gotta remember that it's there's gonna be a little bit of otherworldly fun going on.
Yeah.
But it's it's.
But there's good. Well, I want to just real quick, Steve. I just want to say there is like environmental talk in here with the Oompa Loompas and where they come from and stuff. There's like layers of story. If you're paying attention to the dialogue, there is layers and layers. If you just listen to what Willy Wonka says and what is going on in this movie, and I feel like that it is it's like the modern day Pixar or Disney animation where the animated stuff is for the kids, but then there's other stuff in it that is for adults. It was like before its time when it comes to that kind of stuff, because there's really a lot of adult themes in here, but there's also the colors and the candy and all that kind of stuff with the kids stuff for the kids. You know what I mean? And that's like, that was way before its time. You know what I mean?
I think it's the Roald Dahl effect. I think that's why so many of his books have been adapted, is because they are kind of adult themed children books. They're not, so they work really well for a broad audience. And like you said, a lot of this, there's a lot of layers in there. So I think that's why, like you said, you can pull a lot out of it. And I think that's why, first of all, they tried to remake it with the Tim Burton film, but I think they also decided to make that prequel movie because there is so much you could explore.
And that was really good. I thought Timothy Chalamet, to get up in this, I thought he was fantastic.
It's fine. No, Timothy Chalamet was pretty good. I can't say anything really bad.
He made a lot of money. I think they're doing a sequel.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I was just gonna say I think they're doing a sequel.
Yeah, they made a lot of money.
And that's the thing, is it's like, this is part of, I mean, this is a whole other thing to talk about, but I as I said before, like, it's so, the original is so simple and it leaves so much to the imagination that's why that movie's so great. But if you keep adding and trying to explain away every,
it takes the magic away.
It takes the magic away. And no, nothing's going to ever hurt that first movie. But for somebody that's never seen that movie and their first time watching it's going to be the Timothy Chalamet movie or it ruins the legacy of the movie. And so, like, that's the stuff that Hollywood did. And that's part. And honestly, I was going to say earlier when you talked about like Quaker Oats kind of setting this up to make this a big thing. Well, it's funny because the movie is very anti-corporate. It's very like, it's very Willy Wonka does not want to be ever involved with anybody else but himself. He's private. He keeps everything close to the chest.
Because remember, all his people stole. His employees were stealing his ideas and stuff.
Well, sure.
And so he had to close the doors and get rid of all the employees. And he found the Oompa Loompas and they helped him do it, you know. And he did it all quietly, like the Colts left Indianapolis in the middle of the night.
Yeah, reference.
Yeah, okay. So there's an anti-establishment thing that runs through the whole thing, even with all the kids, you know, like the one, you know, Veruca's, you know, his father's this big rich, you know, businessman that buys his daughter everything, and he, you know, she's just this brat, and that's not the kind of people
hundreds of boxes of chocolate bars just to find the golden ticket.
Yeah, just wastes a bunch of stuff.
And throwing them all the way.
These are things that, you know, spoiler alert, Slugworth, who is pretending to be Slugworth, who actually works for Willy Wonka, is seeing all this stuff. So he's probably reporting to Willy Wonka, telling him who these people really are. And of course, you know, like the TV kid, you know, he cares about, you know, TV and like being famous probably and things, not about the chocolate, not about the thing that really matters at the center of Willy Wonka's factory, you know, the Oompa Loompas, the people that are involved in the business, and keeping it precious. So like, it's funny that the Quaker Oats thing is like, you know, a very corporate thing to do about a movie that's very anti-corporate to the, you know, it's just like, it's funny.
You know, real quick too, is like, we haven't touched on Gene Wilder, and in his documentary, this is a kind of a sore subject in the documentary, because he didn't know if he wanted to play this character. He didn't know if his kind of vibe and stuff was the right vibe for this character. And today, you know, obviously 50, 60, whatever years later, it's one of the most iconic characters of his entire filmography. We think of Gene Wilder, we think of Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, but he was skeptical about playing this character because it wasn't going to change the kind of vibe that he was this kind of comedy duo with Richard Pryor. They did a lot of good movies together, like Stir Crazy and stuff like that. And he had this kind of different type of vibe, and he didn't want to give off the wrong impression to kids and families and stuff if he didn't if this didn't go the right way, you know what I mean? And that documentary really sheds light on him. And obviously all these years later, we all know that it didn't hurt him as a person or his filmography. It actually enhanced him and enhanced his filmography as an actor, because this is one of the most iconic, if not the most iconic character he ever played.
I would say it's the broadest, I mean, it's probably the most popular thing he ever did, because for movie buffs, you might know other things, you know, that he done, but like Blazing Saddles or whatever number of characters he's played. But this is the thing that I think anybody can jump to, young and old, and be like, oh yeah, he's Willy Wonka, you know? Like, and to me, he's still Willy Wonka. I mean, I know, like I said, Timothée Chalamet did a fine job. I don't even want to talk. I know the Tim Burton movie apparently is closer to the book, but, you know, I think this could be this could be one of them rare situations where this movie's better than the book.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Like, this is a rare.
I mean, people are going to argue about that, but this is maybe one of them situations where it works out in that way. Obviously, the book is not a musical.
No,
so
and
that's a whole other element that's brought to it. But
the music, the songs, oh my God, pure imagination, Jesus.
The only song that I don't love listening to again is "Cheer Up, Charlie." I kind of get sick of hearing that one.
Oh, okay.
but
you like the Veruca Salt song? And by the way, real trivia question: a band formed called Veruca Salt off of this character in Willy Wonka, and they have a very popular song called "Seether."
That's a band.
I just said that. Veruca Salt.
Oh, I thought you were saying the name of the song was Seether.
No, okay. The name of the song is Seether.
Gotcha.
That's a band as well, but the name of the big hit from Veruca Salt is called Seether.
Gotcha. All right.
So
I thought it'd be called Golden Goose or something, but all right.
Yeah, Golden Goose. God, that sequence is so funny. Veruca Salt.
But yeah, for me, you hinted at a little bit. One of the big things that makes this a very important film for me, impactful for me, is that sense also of being an underdog. Charlie Bucket, seeing yourself in Charlie Bucket. Yeah, I wasn't poor. We were a low middle class family growing up. So seeing that kid wanting something so bad seems impossible, and then just finding a little bit of money on the street and getting couple more things of candy, and then him getting it is it's like, something you dream about, and they really build it up. They even fake you out for a minute, where, somebody gets the last ticket, but it's actually a fake. And, yeah. What are some of your favorite scenes? I mean, some of my favorite moments, other than like Willy Wonka stuff, is like these cutaway scenes where you see people in public, where like the different situations, like the
different countries.
The therapist who's listening to the guy saying, like, had a dream about where to find the golden ticket. He's like, "Where's the damn golden ticket? Tell me." Like stuff like that.
Yeah,
I thought
those cutaways were good. I
Yeah.
forgot about those cutaways when I was watching it again. I said, "Oh yeah, these are kind of cool." I was like, were these scenes in the original movie? I forgot if they were in the original movie. And
Yeah,
so
the one where the dude's the woman's husband's been kidnapped or something, and she's like, we need a ransom. He's like, he wants all your Wonka bars. He's like,
remember the bidding was
the
high,
auction.
the last box
yeah,
of
the
Wonka.
auction
last-
bidding, yeah.
Last box of Wonka bars.
Your Grace. He's the king shows up to bid for him.
Yeah, no, that stuff was. I forgot all about that stuff when I.
Yeah, a good. And
I
that's
was
like
glad
that.
I rewatched it.
That's the first like half of the movie.
That's the first half of the movie, is the build up to get into the chocolate factory.
Like I said,
No,
it's like the build up to get to that the chocolate factory is so fascinating. It takes and that's all of the kind of character stuff with Charlie, which is also good. Like I said, his dynamic with his family is really, really universal and nice. His dynamic with his mother is interesting. Just like the fact that the little world that he lives in is fascinating to me. Like you said, Steven, it's a world in and of itself. That little candy shop that he goes to with all the other kids, that's so nostalgic because I don't think those places really exist anymore.
We got, funny enough, we have a candy shop in our town.
Oh, really? Is it just a straight up candy shop?
We got one
Just
too.
well, it's got other things, but it is advertised as the candy store.
It feels so old school in there. Like it feels like an old timey place, like where kids would go to like get soft drinks or get ice cream or something like that. Something like that. And like, we don't really, because most of the stuff here is mostly like multiple store stuff. Like
Place Mall. They don't have one like that.
That mall's don't get me started on that place. The movie theater is not renewing their license there, so they're going to be losing their movie theater. Oh, and it's been there since it opened in '99.
That's gonna die.
If that goes, that mall's going down. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. But needless to say, there are some small shops like that. I would say probably like more so downtown or whatever, but it's mostly like pharmacies, drugstores, gas stations. Those places tend to have the candy and all that kind of stuff. There were some places at the mall that were only candy places, and they would have the gumball machines and all this kind of stuff. When you go to the movie theater, they would have all the things set up for candy across the wall and stuff, but not like somewhat like this old school type of feel in there. Like there was something magic about it. And for some reason, I always thought that guy who ran that candy shop, like he knew something. I don't know what he knew, but he always felt like he was like a magical creature. He felt like a magical guy. Like he was.
Who can take a sunrise?
Yeah, like he was bursting into song randomly.
Oh, that song.
Which one's what's the favorite song? Mine's
that.
Honestly, the candy shop song is pretty fucking good. But Pure Imagination.
Pure Imagination is the one I sing the most.
Yeah, those are.
I've got a golden ticket.
Actually, no. I've got a golden ticket's my favorite song.
Yeah.
Even though Papa Joe pisses me off. That's my
it's
favorite.
not him who's got the golden ticket. It's Charlie who's got the gold. So what are you saying? What are you doing? What are you doing, Joe?
There's an alternate version of this where he turns to the camera and he's like, smiling.
Grandpa Joe. Grandpa Joe's living vicariously through Charlie.
Yeah, I guess
Don't confuse you.
I'm gonna trade all that chocolate in for tobacco money.
Yeah, when those doors opened, they let them run free in there. You know he went crazy. He went crazy.
I'm gonna get the fizzy lifting drinks.
He's the
one who has that idea.
Do stuff, and those guys, hey, let's get a drink of. Like, come on, guys, you're supposed to be the good kid, not the bad.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, like
they had to have that motivation.
You talk about that scene at the end. I mean, there's the moment right before Charlie decides to give back the everlasting Godstopper, which is what Charlie does that gets him the win there. Grandpa Joe says right before that, "Oh, we're going to give Slugworth his Gobstopper. He'll get it." So then that shows you the type of person. I mean, like, I don't think Grandpa Joe's a bad person ultimately. No. He's just an old person stuck in his ways. And he looked at that moment. He didn't look past them. He couldn't see past, anything that Wonka was trying to do. He was just like kind of caught up in it.
Well, he was also incredibly emotional. Like
of course,
he thought his grandson just got screwed over, even though his grandson didn't do anything.
He didn't. I guess he decided to look over the fact that he did do something that every other kid had done before him. Do something like try something that he said not to try. They just got away with it. And they did end up getting away with it. But that's also interesting to me because what's interesting is that Wonka wasn't, entirely, his plan wasn't entirely foolproof. I think he had to realize that you can still, I guess, break the rules and still be good. You know what I mean? There's nobody who is 100%, truthfully good. Even someone as innocent and pure as Charlie still can do something, break a rule and still be fine. Yeah.
Morally. You know what I mean?
His thing was he wanted to see the moral quandary. Do you take the thing and give it to the other guy? And that was his moral dilemma. And he was, if somebody could go against that, that's when he knew morally they were the one for him.
Yeah, and that's what triggered kind of like,
Yeah, I think that was the fail safe in the plan. Like, honestly, I think watching it again, not even and keeping that in mind, like I think Charlie was always his choice.
Yeah, he wanted because he put one of them golden tickets in his town where the factory was.
I mean, you couldn't have planned. I don't think he planned Charlie.
Who picked that bar? You're right.
I don't think he planned for Charlie, but once Charlie was the person, I think him knowing all the different children that were involved, he saw Charlie as the one that was going to be the one based off of his knowledge.
And remember, he says it. I read about you in the paper.
Yeah. Well, he knew about all the kids because when they're walking into the chocolate factory, when they're walking through the gates, he greets them one by one, and he knows who each of them are. So it's not like he doesn't know who these people are. So he knows their background and whatnot. And you get a cross section of
society,
all these different types of kids and their different attitudes in life and whatnot. And Charlie is the most unique because Charlie,
he's a spoiled brat.
Charlie doesn't. He's the antithesis of all of these kids because he has nothing that they have.
And the Loompa Loompas called out in their songs.
Oh yeah, the Loompa Loompas are like stabbing these people in the back every single time. He even says the Loompa Loompas pretty much say, "Yeah, your kids are bad because the parents are bad."
Yeah,
that's basically what they said.
I mean, they give that to us right on screen. They're brats. They're spoiled. They're this, that, and like. Listen to what the Oompa Loompas are saying.
Well, I mean, and it's also like almost everybody. Well, I wouldn't say all of them, but a lot of them, the ones that got the ticket. I mean, we know Veruca got it only because they're rich. That's the only reason why they were able to open so many candy bars to then finally find a ticket. But yeah, I mean, like this whole contest was a way of testing, the worst parts of people. I mean, like I said, I think each kid kind of represents a different thing. I think there's a greediness to Veruca. I think there's this the young boy. Was it Tommy?
Something TV. Mike
TV. His is like he's like
famous.
Like a vanity, famous. Like a vanity thing. Wanting to be famous, and then like
Christmas has this appetite. Like it didn't matter. He just wants to eat and eat, 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 eat.
Well, yeah,
and then the gluttony, and then like the one girl with the gum, Violet.
Don't take the gum.
Hers is, I don't know which deadly sin you want to put
hers
on
is
her.
kind of, she just does.
She's greedy.
I would say conceitedness is her thing. Because she's very remember she was always like jabbing at some like friend of hers, like, "Hey, look at me, I'm on TV. Aren't you jealous?" You know what I mean? So she had this type of conceitedness in her, and and she wanted to keep chewing gum so she could chew gum longer than anybody else. So she was very much, kind of headstrong and whatnot.
Should have gave her bad teeth. That would have been really
nice.
Yeah. One of my favorite quotes all the time, Violet, you're turning violet. You're
turning violet, Violet.
Yeah,
nice play on words. Yeah. I also like how, some of the stuff that they're working on in the factory is not perfected yet. It may never be perfected. So there's these horrible side effects to them, and that are like kind of horrific if you put them in a real world perspective. Like we were talking about Violet, she's filling up with blueberry juice, and it's like, she has to go be dejuiced, and I'm like, that sounds horrific.
That's why I said there's adult side to this movie. And then kid, you don't.
I thought that the kid who fell in the river of chocolate, he could have drowned easily.
He got stuck in the pipe, and because
stuck in the pipe.
Chocolate's not quite like water or anything. It's not. It's a little thicker.
You can't breathe in there.
But did you see later they put the sugar in it, they put some other chemicals in it to make it turn into chocolate and stuff?
Yeah, I mean, but it's and then like the kid Mike TV, gets shrunk. He gets
that's
shrunk.
The most horrific one. He gets broken up into millions of little like pieces and then put back together inside like TV size.
And then their fix for it is take him to the stretching room.
Yeah, and stretch him out like on a rack, like a medieval torture rack. So that's like okay.
That's why I said cartoon. I think this is like a real life cartoon. You have to take it that way.
The thing too is, this is the funny part about Warner Brothers has got the rights to this. They're not going to lose the rights because they already made another Willy Wonka movie, and they got a sequel on the way. But if they didn't, and if like this went into the ethos like a lot of the Disney property, can you imagine the horror movie of Willy Wonka showing some of that crazy stuff?
Yeah.
Well, that would be cool, right? If WB lost the rights and like it went into the ether, and whoever the people that are doing like Bambi and
I wonder.
Now that you bring a horror movie on this, that would be crazy.
So I think the original book came out in 1964, and after about 75 years or so, the characters do become public domain. So that could be coming up
unless they make a movie.
I meant just in general. All the
no. The intellectual rights of the book.
Yeah, of the book. So the original characters.
You can't do the version the movies did, but you can do a different version with the same characters.
That's kind of what they're doing with the Disney characters. Like Steamboat Willie is now in the public domain because he came out way back when. So they can make a Steamboat Willie version of Mickey Mouse slashing people.
As long as he doesn't look visually the same as the Disney one.
Oh, okay. So they could do a horror movie of Willy Wonka.
Yeah. They could.
You
just have to change up the style a little bit.
I just gave Steven an idea to make a movie.
Well, this is a movie mutation for sure one day.
Clearly. But my favorite scene, actually, even to this day, is when they're on the boat on the Chocolate River and it gets psychedelically insane and turns into a David Lynch movie for about a couple of minutes.
And
Wonka's just like he's like almost chanting in tongues like a possessed person. It becomes like The Exorcist for a second, and I'm like, this is so random and out of pocket for this movie, but it's so brilliant because Wonka throughout this entire sequence, he's kind of insane. Like he's an insane person from the very beginning when you meet him to like almost to like the very end when you towards the end of the movie as well.
I mean, he's the whole time he's controlling his insanity until
he's like a control freak. But even some of the dialogue he slips in and the little jokes he slips in, it's like dark humor, like backhanded compliments.
Look,
all this kind of stuff.
I want to say this: I don't condone taking drugs, but maybe taking drugs and watching this would be a pretty good experience.
Probably fun.
Yeah.
I mean, I love the intro to when he first comes out and he's like limping and shit, and then he
and then he like
does the roll, which is
he's always trying to keep him off base, off kilter. He doesn't want him to figure out who he is as a person.
He's got this mystery about him the whole time.
Well, I was gonna say it's one of the greatest build-ups to a character ever. because the whole half of the movie, you hear stories about Wonka. You don't know anything. Nobody ever sees him. Nobody can go into the factory because anybody that goes in never comes out. There's all these stories. You don't know anything. And then you finally see him and he's like,
He's looking, yeah.
And then he does the roll, and then kids go into the factory, and almost none of them come back, except for
it's like it becomes like Alice in Wonderland.
Yeah,
He's getting wacky like that. Like even when they go in, like there are small details that are in there that are kind of fascinating to me. Like when
is fascinating.
When the contract, it starts with big letters all the way down to tiny little print. When they're walking into the factory, they go down the hallway, and the hallway gets smaller and smaller. Then they open the door to the factory, and the doors are gigantic. Like, how did that happen?
Yeah,
it's so whimsical and crazy, but it's all tied into the Wonka character. Yeah. Like he is, I feel like he's like his factory is like a living embody of him. Just you don't know what you're going to get at any given time.
I mean, so having this movie out in the 70s is probably the perfect time to put this movie out. Because in the 70s, everybody was high. They were smoking marijuana. They were having a good old time. It was free. And maybe this is an allegory for that, too, in a way. You know, you don't know. I mean, I think it came out at the right time.
I mean, this was a huge hit. This was a budget of $3 million, and it made $526 million.
Wow. That's great.
Well, no, worldwide it made 688.
Holy moly. And they never made a sequel. That is crazy. Warner Brothers never made a sequel.
Well, that was maybe something smart that they did. You know, like, I mean, like some movies should just be great on their own and not continue to exploit it. But, you know, that's not the world we live in. So,
well, I agree with you on hindsight. I'm just saying in like, it's weird because in a world of sequels,
sure.
You know, even back then it was Alien, then Aliens, and Superman,
I think
Rambo
fortunately,
and First Blood and all that, and Jaws and blah blah blah.
Yeah,
you know,
I think fortunately you're starting to see a little bit of a change right now. Warner Brothers themselves this year
originals
is making a lot more original films, and it's being very successful for them.
They're doing great.
They're doing, and they're just about to have what's about to come out from Warner Brothers.
Well, they just had One Battle After Another.
Oh yeah, One Battle. So they're going to have an awards movie. That's going to make some money.
Best director winner.
Yeah. So they're going to have an awards movie that's probably going to make a little bit of money itself. And then they might have something. I'm sure they got something else coming out. 3
movies out that have been amazingly at the box office, but all 3 of them could be nominated for various categories at the Academy Awards and possibly win some major awards at the Academy Awards. All 3 Warner Brothers. And this is under the David Zaslav, which was a different kind. He's not giving away screenings as much. He's not doing a lot of like letting people see the movies early, like the past regime.
All right, we don't have to get super deep into this, but I just wanted to say, Warner Brothers is in a position where they're doing they should be staying on to originals instead of exploiting movies like Willy Wonka the Chocolate Factory.
Well, I would say, and also the kind of beneficial of Willy Wonka is that it's been such a staple culturally for the last, 50 years that it's still been able to garner some type of buzz and profit, if you will, even if it's just cultural profit. Like, for example, Dan is a lot older than us. He saw it when he was young. We saw it when we were young. We're from a different generation. So it's cross-generational. Even the younger people now and the newer generations are going to be seeing this movie and talking about it. It lives on. That's what I'm trying to say. Even without traditionally a sequel or a follow-up or whatever, it still has lived on throughout the generations because of kind of its timelessness. Even like older filmmakers like reference the movies and talk about it. I know Kevin Smith has talked about Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory and its effect on his career and him personally as a movie fan. I mean, Seth MacFarlane has referenced it in Family Guy so many damn times. I mean, it's been referenced throughout pop culture in general so many times. This kind of concept of having a golden ticket can be, taken out into the real world. Anytime something good happens to you, you get a golden ticket. It's like getting a golden ticket. You know what I mean? You win the lottery, your team wins a game, you get a raise at work, whatever. That's a golden ticket, something you find surprisingly that's positive in your life. That's a golden ticket. So this movie kind of lives on beyond itself. which I think is not a lot of movies can really say that. That's how culturally profound I think this movie is after all these years. And I think that goes to the fact we were saying early on of how simple it is, yet also hitting on universal themes. Like it's really, really good at being simple yet profound. It's kind of an amazing movie in that regard. I've never come across anyone who doesn't like the movie. Have you guys?
No.
No. I mean, I've come along people that haven't seen it.
I've seen
that
that more
Oh,
times.
that's strange. to me.
And that's
That is
kind of
strange.
tough. It would be kind of tough maybe introducing this to like an adult for the first time, perhaps, just because
Maybe.
adults tend to be a little more skeptical
It
in life,
It
a
depends.
little more
My thing is-
jaded.
My
know?
thing is, I want to ask Steven a question. What do you think of Gene Wilder in this role as a whole? I mean, from beginning to end, and his agenda, his is Gene Wilder playing this character the right way to get across the themes that we were talking about in this movie, in your opinion, Steve?
I mean, I think, you talked about how Gene Wilder didn't think he was the right actor for the role, but I think that his ability to kind of play this in a more kind of frantic way, like he's kind
Manic.
like if I had to step back and if I was somebody that was in this world, and was like knew who Willy Wonka was and what things he's done, I'd think he was like kind of scary. I'd think he would be kind of like a creepy person to be around. He seems like he's a little bit out there, like he's kind of dangerous. And that's how he's played. He's played to be kind of somebody that's in control of his own world and nobody can touch him. He's kind of scary. So I think he plays him perfectly. I think he plays him in this person that keeps everything close to his chest. He's very snarky. He's very, in control. Like you said earlier, he likes to be in control. And I think if he gets put out of control, he could be dangerous. Like somebody tries to take his factory away from him. I don't know if I would want to be near, so he's going to have something up his sleeve. He'd be like the Riddler as a Batman villain. You know what I mean? Like he's like that, like kind of like obsessed. He's even played that way, I think, in the prequel. Like he's in a very obsessive chocolate. He's like trying to always find some new thing, new invention. He's like always wanting adventure. Like he's like very like just a lot. So I think he's playing him great. I think he has the right way. He knows when to be warm. He knows when to take it down. He knows when to bring it up. Like I think Gene Wilder. I don't know that I would have, if I'm thinking about actors of that time that could take on the role. I don't know that I could really think of any actor that has the right balance of qualities that I would want playing that role from the early 70s. Like,
Is that an Oscar nominated performance in your opinion?
I don't know what it was up against that year. I'm sure you could tell me, but
yeah, we look it up. Andrew, look it up. Now, the other thing I want to ask you is, today we spend a lot of money on movies, hundreds of millions of dollars on movies, production value, CGI, visual effects, gallivanting all over the world, this, that, and the other. What do you think of the production design and this is like the look of the movie, considering you said this is a $3 million movie? That was, I was just like in my head, I was like, are you kidding me? This movie costs $3 million. It looks like $100 million movie to me.
I was going to say it would up like this. You make this movie today, even this with the same stuff, like everything's just more expensive. It's not even just that, I'm sure for that time that was kind of expensive. Today it would be, I think, at least $100 to $150 million movie if you made it practically, because that's just the cost of things. Not only the cost of, the materials, and they'd probably try to do a lot more because the technology of film making has gotten greater. So they would try to do more ambitious stuff, but also the labor is more expensive. You're going to utilize CGI in ways to enhance what you're doing. It would be a $150 million movie today trying to make it the same way, because that's just how it is.
I mean, because that stuff looked incredible to me.
And I think that
$3 million. Wow.
What people don't understand is like there's, even when something that's out of this world gets made practically, it brings something to it that's way better than seeing it CGI'd. Like when I see monster effects, when it's like a Jabba the Hutt or something like that, and it's like a real thing, that's just so much better than when they go into the prequels and you have CGI Jabba the Hutt. It's just not the same.
Jabba in Return of the Jedi is 100%
like
better.
You can tell that it's tangible versus something that was created in a computer. You can just tell.
Yeah, and we saw what they did with the Wonka movie, with recreating, the Oompa Loompas, recreating the chocolate factories and all that kind of stuff. And it looks like CGI because it is CGI. You know what I mean? And that movie probably had a budget of whatever. I'm assuming hundreds of millions of dollars.
Like $200 million movie.
Yeah, at least it's something like that.
Yeah.
Getting back to what Dan was saying, so this movie actually was nominated for an Oscar in 1972, Best Music Scoring Adaptation and Original Score. But when it comes to the other nominees for like Best Actor that year, because I know you were mentioning that was the year Gene Hackman won for The French Connection, so probably no chance there. But you had Peter Finch nominated for Sunday Bloody Sunday, Walter Matthau for Koch, George C. Scott for The Hospital, and Topol for Fiddler on the Roof. Those are the best actors
I think Gene
in the leading role.
You could have slipped him in there for that.
Yeah, Gene could have taken like Walter Matthau's place or something.
I'm just saying, in terms of like a win, I think Gene Hackman had that locked.
Yeah. That was a French Connection year for sure.
Well, that was a great year for French Connection. That's interesting. See, I didn't know that, but that in hindsight, that's one of those ones you say, you could have slipped Gene. Yeah, you could have slipped Gene Wilder in there. 2 Genes, that would have been crazy.
Yeah, Gene versus Gene.
Yeah,
which is weird. Yeah. I mean, how many Genes do you even see get nominated for Academy Awards, let alone win? Gene Hackman's the only one, really, right?
Yeah, even for like Best Picture that year was obviously The French Connection, but other nominees were A Clockwork Orange, Fiddler on the Roof, The Last Picture Show, and Nicholas and Alexandra.
Okay, you could have taken Nicholas and Alexandra out of there and put.
And that's a Warner Brothers movie, A Clockwork Orange. So that's
all the other ones make sense to me, but that's the only one I haven't seen. So I'm gonna have to say that one has to leave.
What's interesting about Nicholas and Alexandra is probably out of all those movies, that's the one that's talked about the least.
I was gonna say I've never seen it, so
yeah, it's a period piece about the last Russian monarch.
I'm gonna be seeing it.
Sounds super boring.
If I get that episode with Picture This, which I've asked for because of Gene Hackman and French Connection, I'll have to watch all those movies. Yeah. That's gonna be rough.
But we know where I stand. Where are you guys?
Put that thermometer out.
Yeah. Where are you guys standing here?
Yeah, after watching it again, I'm with you. I'm
I'm obsessed. I know nostalgia's driving it heavily for the obsessed for me, but it's still really good.
I mean,
as good as I remember.
I try to be objective about it. Like I go back and watch it again and try to be like, okay, is it like thinking in the way I think now about movies? I watch movies differently than I did when I was a kid. And nothing bothers me about this movie. I love watching this movie still, and I still think it's amazing, and it looks amazing on 4K. Like the
4K does look very good.
It's really good.
Yeah, that's the one thing that the one thing they've done with this movie over the years is they've continuously gone back and remastered and restored it, and out in every single format that I can think of. I mean, VHS, probably Laserdisc, DVD, Blu-ray, and now 4K. And they've gone back every single time and kind of given it a deluxe treatment. Warner Brothers does understand, like, about their big properties, for the most part. When it comes to things like, Wizard of Oz and, of course, Willy Wonka, they're big time, franchises, if you will, in quotes. They know how to kind of keep them in rotation. You know what I mean? They know how to keep them fresh for people who want to buy them and own them. Every generation gets their cut, gets their version of it, gets their copy. They know how to keep it relatively, in print always. Coincidentally, for me personally, this is the first time I've ever owned it. I'd never owned it in any other format. No VHS, no Blu-ray.
I have the snapper case. I believe I have the snapper case.
Yeah, I had the VHS for sure. I had the shell case. And then I don't think I had a DVD, but then I got a Blu-ray, which I still have my first Blu-ray in the closet. And then I got this 4K. So I think I said it last time. Though,
for some anniversary they put out a big old, limited edition collector's edition like they did with Casablanca and Wizard of Oz um and a couple of their other movies with for Willy Wonka, where it had Gene Wilder's face like super blown up on it. He's looking right at you, dead in the eyes, and it came with like all kind of extra little goodies and whatnot. That's the one people always had in their collections over the years since I've been collecting and whatnot. And I've always saw that in store. I always saw that online, and I never got it. And then the 4K came out, which made that one kind of in the past, if you will. Gotta get the latest and greatest.
Well, before we pack this up and go home on this one, I have one more question for Steve, which is I always thought was an interesting question, because where do you think they go in that machine at the end? Where do they actually end up? Do you just go back to the factory? What do you think they?
I would think if it was me, I would think that they go over to where Charlie's house is.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, they go and they land in the street. Everybody's like, "Yay, Charlie!" And and then the family has to go in. Willy Wonka's got to go in his house because, of course, them fuckers can't get out of bed. And then you got to go in there and he has to hug them all. Grandpa Joe's got to do a dance. He's got to pull the golden ticket back out and like, look what I got. And then they got to go pick the mom up from work and surprise her. And then
I always thought that was a weird way to end the movie.
I also kind of always wanted to see where in the factory are the living quarters. Are they nice?
I'm sure it's weird. I'm sure you saw it. Is it like
a mansion? Is it like a mansion that's like in the back there? Like what are we looking at here in terms of living amenities?
Well, when you have
to
have a family of.
There are other buildings there. You could see there was other buildings.
I mean, when you got Oompa Loompas as your staff, I mean, they can build you anything.
But I assume the Oompa Loompas live in like their own like dormitories.
Yeah. But he also has to do a better living experience because of what he explains of what they were killed. They were being killed in their country of Loompa Land and all this. And they were being, eaten by animals and killed and stuff. So they had to give
Noswangers and
and
all these things. Snozzberry. Who ever heard of a Snozzberry?
Snozzberry.
That was one of the quotes is what he says to her after she says
that quote. I rewound that about 3 times.
He's like something.
I got the quote up here. I'm going to look it up.
It was something
because it was profound as
he was like the artists do something. He says something very profound.
He has to say it straight. He can't be laughing what he's saying, because then you as an audience wouldn't take it serious.
But it's the most profound philosophical thing in the movie.
I think in the whole movie, yeah.
It's we are the music makers and we are the dreamers of dreams.
Yeah.
That line comes out of nowhere.
Yeah.
That's the line you hear in a David Lynch movie.
Well,
it's like
what I love
it's up to you to figure out what it means.
But no, I mean, I think my interpretation of it is that like you can't let people tell you what you can do. Like you're ever telling me a Snozzberry doesn't exist? No, I made the We're the gods of our own world. And that's what I say. Like Willy Wonka
that's
is
what's
like
important about this movie.
Willy Wonka is kind of in a sense like, telling you he's his own god. He owns his own universe, and he's going to do. You can't tell him what he can't make.
Yeah, it gets you, and that opens up a whole realm of philosophical discussions about Willy Wonka and what his philosophy is, and look out on life is, which is a whole other different story. But it's very much about kind of the endless power of the human imagination should not be underestimated. Like we are capable of greatest things, and the only thing holding us back is ourselves because of our and we are our own limitations.
And that's the message,
which opens up a whole different thing.
That's the message that if every kid and every parent had that message, they can keep. Why this movie is so universally beloved, because you can keep hammering that message home.
Yeah, that scene's the scene I would show my kid over and over. Yeah. Like, listen to. I'll put that on your wall in your room. But that is it. That is our discussion of Willy Wonka Chocolate Factory 1971. If you have not watched this, please. I hope you didn't get this far. I hope we didn't ruin the whole movie. You should go and watch the damn movie. It's on HBO Max. If you have that, it's pretty accessible to buy anywhere or wherever you want to watch it. So please go watch it. But now we are at the point where we got to find out what our next episode is going to entail. And this time around, we're back to Andrew. Andrew's got to tell us what his pick is for our next episode.
Yeah, what is interesting is going into today, I had a whole other different pick. And then at the very last second, right between last half hour before we started streaming here or recording here, I picked something completely different. Not completely different, but something different. I was just looking at my shelves and I was like, oh, that's something I want to talk about. And I know Steven will like this pick. And it is similar to kind of what Steven mentioned earlier with his pick with School of Rock, in that it is music related, but of course, it's more about just the music. That is Almost Famous, the Cameron Crowe film from the year 2000.
You stole one of my long list of.
I knew it was going to come up between either you and I at some point, and I had another pick that I also know that was going to come up at one point between you and I, but I decided to go with this because coincidentally, we had already talked about one of the director's other films, but I'm going with Almost Famous, and I've owned this movie. Talk about something I've owned several times as opposed to Wonka, which I've only owned once. This I have had on DVD, have had on Blu-ray, and have had now on 4K as well. But this is a movie that is a bit of a pseudo biopic for the director Cameron Crowe. Star-studded cast, a critically acclaimed film from the year 2000. Kate Hudson, Billy Crudup, one of Steven's favorites.
Yeah, we'll get into it.
We'll get into this. Yeah,
but I will say I'm not going to watch the director's cut. I'm going to watch the.
That's the only cut of the movie I do watch. Actually,
I don't watch. I have watched it, and I don't care for it.
Yeah, Steven and I have had this battle for years. Not really a battle; it's just preference. I love the director's cut, and he does not.
I think that the theatrical cut flows way better. It's. I mean, like, there's some things in the director's cut that are fine, that are nice. And, you know, who doesn't like more of their favorite movies? But in this case, I think less is more. I think the movie is paced way better in the shorter cut. In the shorter cut,
and it's a
shorter cut's 2 hours. Like,
it's a significant amount of time. The shorter cut is 123 minutes, theatrical cut. And then the bootleg or director's cut is 161 minutes. Yeah. So we're talking like almost 40 minutes of footage here.
Yeah.
That can radically change a movie.
Yeah, that's why I think you should watch the theatrical cut. But all right, so that's what I'll be watching though to prepare for this one. So anything director's cut related will have to go to either one of these two guys. I don't know what Dan prefers, but he doesn't know. So
whatever I'll just go off to the shelf and pull the one I got off the shelf. If I have it on digital, I'll go watch the digital version and we'll see what version that is.
But either way, that's going to be a really good episode because it is a fantastic movie. I'm sorry, I just almost threw up on myself.
That's okay. Happens to the best of us.
But that's it for this trip down memory lane. Of course, don't forget to subscribe to this show. And of course, Dan from the Fourth Row. He's a movie critic in Florida. You should go check out his writings. And that's a trip down memory lane.